We are here at the residence of Sir Knight PRAH to have a conversation with him on his election to serve as a president for the second term of the International Council of Catholic Men. Sir Knight PRAH, good evening.
Good evening, Father.
And congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How does it feel to be elected to this position in the church?
First is the humbling experience that you have an organization that has been around for, at the time I was first elected president, which is 3 years ago, 67 years old, and no African had ever been elected to the position of president. Of course, there had been 2 other Africans only, as far as I know, who had served as vice presidents.
Okay.
This includes our own Dr. Kwao here. He served for 1 term as vice president.
Okay.
And there was another Kenyan who also served. Of course, I was also elected and served for 2 terms as vice president before I was finally elected president.
Oh, okay.
So before I was president, that was about how far any African had gone to become the vice president of the organization.
Okay.
In fact, it was a decision that was taken about 15 years ago that they needed, there had to be an African on the bureau of the organization. Because even though Africans were participating, nobody was on the bureau. So this decision was taken to create a second office for vice president, and for that office to be allocated to an African. And that's where the Kenyan Mr. Wainana, yes, he became the first African to be in that position, vice president. And then he was followed by Sir Knight Kwao. But that was even at a meeting in Ghana here at Gosua Beach in 2006. That's when he was elected vice president. And I was elected vice president for the first term in 2009. In fact, it was something that normally doesn't happen. Because to follow your countryman one after the other normally doesn't happen, because there were other African countries on there. But this was a very special situation where a Kenyan, another Kenyan was vying for the position and was almost going to go through until some internal issues happened. And I was asked to stand in and asked to be elected, even though when I was leaving Ghana, that wasn't part of the plan. Knights of Marshall had not, at that time. Knights of Marshall is a member, but at that time they hadn't nominated me to be in that position. But it was I call it God's plan. That somebody else may call it an accident of fate, but I guess God wanted me to be in that position, and that's why I got in. So I can explain a bit more of that when we get into the interview, but that's what really happened. And I became the vice president in 2009.
Now, this organization, International Council of Catholic Men, Unum Omnis, when was it established, and what does it seek to achieve?
I think this was in 1948, to be precise, in September. This was a few years, I think 4 years after the Second World War. And the issue of world peace and understanding became uppermost in most people's minds in this world. And I think that at some point, these Catholic gentlemen, honestly, I don't know exactly who mooted the idea, but these Catholic gentlemen felt that there was a need for people of similar identity in the Catholic faith to be able to come together and promote peace and understanding in the world. They thought it would be easier if you have people who followed the same type of vision, and like the Catholic Church provided for us to come together and do this. And so they met in Lourdes in France.
In France,
Yes, this was in 48. Then they had another meeting, but subsequently in 1950, they met again, and that is when the name Unum Omnes came to be applied to the organization. They decided on that because you are a priest, so you know that Jesus' prayer for his men to be together, that all may be one. 17, John 17, 21. That all may be one. They use that as a medium to try and bond together, because they thought that this is a good thing to try and bring Catholics at the international level, so they can support each other, they can have dialogue, they can even come together to support other countries that didn't have Catholic men organizations to build up. So that the whole point about the church's mission, evangelization, and all those things can be promoted. In 1956 was when the church officially recognized Unum Omnes, and this was done by Pope Pius XII, when he approved and affirmed it as a Catholic organization that needed to be supported by the church. So it was from that time that more and more countries joined. In fact, I think that they came up to about 45 at some point, countries throughout the world, except Australia. But almost all the continents were there except Australia. But with time, with all the things happening in Europe and other places in the church, you know, the numbers have reduced. We still have about 35 people on the list of members, but in terms of those who are actually active, I think we're talking about something around 25, between 25 and
25 countries.
25 countries, yes, which are. Africa has very few. Africa is still not very strong on it. Africa has Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, then no, Sierra Leone is not in yet, and then Zambia, and Uganda, who are there now. We used to have, Chad was on there, Cameroon was on there, but they are not anymore. We still have Liberia as an associate member. And Togo recently applied to also become a member. So Africans are not that strong in Unum Omnes, but I believe it will grow because we are trying to encourage more and more African countries to become members of the Unum Omnes. Yes.
All right. We are still having a chat with Sir Knight PRAH, the president of the International Council of Catholic Men, the first African to hold that position. Sir Knight PRAH.
Yes, Father.
Could you please walk us through Ghana's association with Unum Omnes, and even your own association with Unum Omnes?
In 1982 was when the then Archbishop of Tamale, Bishop Derry, was in Rome for their usual meetings, and he came across this organization. I don't know how he met them, but when he returned to Ghana, he thought it would be good for Ghana to be part of this international organization that was bringing together Catholic men from many countries. For sure, we would benefit from being associated at the international level with this organization. So he spoke to the Knights of Marshall.
Okay.
He himself had been, I think, a member of the Knights of Columbus in the U.S.
Okay.
And therefore there was this link with the Knights of Marshall through the International Alliance of Catholic Knights.
Okay.
So he mentioned this, but unum omnes, the statute says that one Catholic men's organization that is recognized officially by the Bishops' Conference of the country is the one that can be allowed membership, which means that it's not every organization
that can join,
and that men's organization then is supposed to represent the Catholic men in the country. So because he spoke to Knights of Marshall, Knights of Marshall became the organization that then was introduced, became an associate member, and therefore also finally became a member. At that time it was Senate Quao, and he more or less at that time took it upon himself to do this, and he financed his trips to meetings and so on and so forth all by himself to get Knights of Marshall involved. So his association, or the Orders Association, began around that time in 1982. Since then, Knights of Marshall was part of the organization, and people from Knights of Marshall attended meetings. In fact, the regulation within our internal arrangement is that when you were a Supreme Knight, because Knights of Marshall is a member of two international organizations, the International Alliance of Catholic Knights and the International Council of Catholic Men. Now, of the two, it is International Council of Catholic Men that is the oldest, not the Alliance. As a matter of fact, it was the Knights within the International Council of Catholic Men in various countries who thought they had further identity, common identity beyond being Catholic men. And they came out to form the Alliance of Catholic Knights. They didn't leave they're still members. But they formed it because they thought we are knights. Not everybody in the Council of Catholic Men were knights, so they formed that. So there are two organizations, we belong to both. So when you are a Supreme Knight, you go to the meeting of the International Alliance of Catholic Knights. When you pass the chair as Supreme Knight, then you go to the meeting of the International Council of Catholic Men. It's just an international, it's just an internal arrangement we have for the order. Now, when I was Supreme Knight, I attended the meeting of the Alliance in Abuja. Then, when I left the chair, it was my turn to attend the meeting in Germany.
This time of Catholic Men.
Catholic Men in Germany. So I went to Germany, and as I was trying to explain initially, I mean, I just went, I had not been nominated for anything, and now telling you about my association and when it began. At this meeting, it came up. I was there one day in my hotel room where the meeting was taking place.
That was in 2009.
2009. This was around September. And then at that time, Senate Quao, Dr. Quao was at the meeting also. So he came to me and said that there is some discussion going on that they are asking that you should put yourself up for election as vice president. So where is this coming from? You know, because you know it was a total surprise to me. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but he said that, you know, of course we had some meetings, and I had been contributing to the meetings and discussions, and I don't know where that came from. I don't know, But anyway, then they came up to me, Dr. Kwao came up to me and said, this is what is going on. Okay. So, you know, you should do it. So, later on I learned that there was this Kenyan who more or less was billed to take over the position because Ghana, Dr. Kwao representing Ghana, had just finished one term as vice president. So it was totally, you know, it wasn't going to happen that another man from Ghana would follow. But anyway, they insisted that I put myself up for this election, and I did. And there were 3 of us, myself, the Kenyan, no, 4 of us. Myself, the Kenyan, somebody from Germany, the president of the, at that time, German Men's Association, and the president of an Italian, they call them ACI, Azione Cattolica Italiana. ACI, you know, 4 of us, plus the Kenyan. The interesting thing is that me, who was a totally complete outsider, I won, I had the highest, the maximum number of votes. It means that almost everybody in at the meeting at that time, 33 something, voted for me. So I had the highest. And then the German had the second highest, so he became the second vice president. The Italian didn't win. Even the Italian got better than the Kenyan. Yeah, so I think the Kenyan got a little bit peeved because after that, he never attended a meeting again. And Kenya somehow also was out of the meeting for many years. They didn't attend meetings. It wasn't my fault at all. So anyway, I was elected vice president. I served for a term, and then there was a second term. I got re-elected again as vice president for a second term. This time, it was between myself, the same German, and then I think another person from Romania. Yeah, but again I won, and therefore I continued as them. Then came 2015. 2015 was when the election for the president was, and I got nominated, of course, by my country, and I got a support from other countries as well. And therefore, I got elected as president. This second term presidency, it was unopposed. Yes, nobody, all the countries that nominated, sent in nominations, said that PRAH should continue. So that was unopposed. So that basically has been my journey in the. It started with something that I was not prepared for at all. I went there for a meeting just to come by, and I came back with the vice president. You know, and at that time the president was Irish. Yeah, the president I worked with, he also had a second term as president. So he was Irish. The secretary, we had 2 secretaries in between. One was from Croatia, and the other one, who is still the Secretary General, he's also an Irish. And then we had, at that time, a treasurer who was from France, and another vice president with me who was German. My team now is made up of, again, the Secretary General who is Irish. I've got a vice president, 2 vice presidents. In my first term, there was one vice president from Ukraine and another one from Austria. Yeah, the Austrian one is repeating as vice president, but now we have somebody from Romania who will replace the Ukrainian, because the Ukrainian left the territory of Ukraine to go and live in Canada, so
okay.
he left. Yeah. So my treasurer is still from France, and then we have an ecclesiastical assistant who is Austrian. So it's a mini United Nations that you have. But you know, these days, because of communication, it's very easy to communicate with each other without any problem.
That would have been my next question as to how you were able to work together, since all of you are coming from different.
Yeah, we are in touch almost every day. Something is going between us, either coming from Romania or me to him, and you know, it's not difficult. We don't even use telephone. Mainly emails, and you know, and it goes quite fast. Today I've had to respond to 2 emails coming from the Secretary General. So there hasn't been any issues at all. Yes, we're communicating, and of course we meet. Every year we have a bureau meeting in Rome. So next year, for example, in March, we will go for a meeting, about 3 days meeting, and that's when we used to receive the reports. We used to plan for the next, either an executive committee meeting. The structure is said that we have a general meeting, general assembly every 3 years. And that's when we have these elections. In between, there's what we have the executive committee meetings. But it's been opened. So anybody who is a member and who wants to attend can come, because it also gives people the opportunity to travel around, and because luckily I know quite a few countries now because of this position. Every year I'm in at least 2 different countries, you know, so it's quite an experience to do these things.
What does your election, you know, as a first African to occupy this position of president for the International Council of Catholic Men mean to the church in Africa and in Ghana in particular?
Well, it's a difficult question. The church in Africa, I would say that normally, you know, Africa has the church in the world, the Universal Catholic Church, I would say is, if you take in terms of numbers and everything, it's stronger in Africa than it is in other places. I mean, in Germany and all these places, whose bishops and other are holding the church and making all the decisions. Really, people don't even go to church in those places. Unfortunately, the African problem still seems to be one of funding for people in Africa to get involved in anything. But coming back to the question about Africa, what does it mean? I think that I have had the opportunity to visit a few African countries since I was president. And I think that if you see the enthusiasm with which I'm received, and it's more like this is one of our own, by the people themselves, by the bishops of these countries, and so on and so forth. This is one of their own. And I think that if we had a bit more backing in terms of funding to move around, to get the organizations themselves working in country and participating, it will make some difference and definitely impact the churches in Africa.
It has been wonderful coming your way today. We had a chat with Sir Knight PRAH, the first African to occupy the presidency of Unum Omnis, the International Council of Catholic Men. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.